greetings, Basil. We're going Italian style. And we're going to make a pasta. And we're going to have it with the seafood. And in this case, it's these little darlings. Which we've had before. Well, not these ones, because these are fresh ones as such. We had the other ones. Baby octopus. And we're doing it with a pasta. And so, of course, normally when you do pasta, when you made it all, you put Parmesan on top, don't you? Don't do that with seafood. Very naughty in Italy. You don't put cheese on your seafood. So why not put it in the pasta? So we're going to make a type of pasta that's got the cheese in it. So there you go, there's the cheese already. Your Parmesan, grate up, 30 grams. We're going to make a type of pasta, scialatelli. Then you'll see it's a little bit different. It's pasta, but it's a little bit different how we prepare it. And it is with baby octopus, but because we're doing Italian style, it's scialatelli con polipetti. So, let's get making our scialatelli for the first stage. It's a type of pasta that is made using semolina flour and actually a slightly coarser grind flour, and I've got 400 grams of that there, and I'm going to pour that out on my surface. Okay, and we're going to make a little mound in the middle, and into my bowl I'm going to break one large egg. Okay, make the mess of that. And then into that, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of finely chopped basil and about the same amount of finely chopped parsley. There's a bit more than I want because I need some at the end. Before you get any smart asses saying, hey, you've got chopped left over. And then we want to take the zest. Actually, before we do that, I'm also going to put in 30 grams of cheese. Sound effect night tonight. See, do you do that? And then, oh, where's it gone? Milk. 160 mils of whole milk. And that goes. Tablespoon of olive oil, extra virgin. By the way, I've got the recipe for the scialatelli from the pasta queen. Yes, boss, it was pasta queen. I've already told you about it. The wife thinks I'm like having this affair with the pasta queen, even though she lives in Florida, and all I've ever done is just watch her channels and read one of her books. It's jealousy, that's what it is. Right, now a final thing I want to put in there is the zest of one lemon. Now you're going to keep that lemon because you're going to need some lemon juice later, but not in here. So now we're just going to whisk all that together. Okay, get that egg all broken up. Get that mixture, and that's all our liquid and tiny pinch of salt. Whoop. Get all that mixed in there. Now, scialatelli is a bit of a sort of almost like a rustic type pasta. So you'll notice, well, you may notice, you may not notice. You might notice my shirt, by the way. Case, I think it was £13 bargain, brand new. That's not a problem with it. In the sale. Set myself a target. Can I buy a cheaper shirt? Brand new, not second hand. You know, can I buy a cheaper shirt than the thing? And I found one for £9. And I thought, unfortunately, it was like small. although my athletic figure would benefit from such a shirt, that is a little bit on the slender side. So anyway, nothing to do with the fact that we are making like a rustic type pasta. So what I'm going to do is I'm tip all that in there. It's probably going to start making a mess in a minute, and we're just going to, without it suddenly deciding it's going to spill everywhere, we're just going to gradually mix that in. Okay, and we're then going to start kneading that. Don't you dare run off the side, you little shite. We're going to knead that into a pasta. I'm going to turn camera off before it goes all down the front and everywhere. Now, I was saying before I got distracted about my cheap shirt. Well, not cheap shirt, my bargain shirt. That you may have noticed there's no pasta machine, because we're not going to roll it with a pasta machine. Because this particular pasta, and by the way, it did not go everywhere. It was contained. It didn't make a big mess. So I'm just about incorporated all that liquid in there, but we need to now knead it all together. But this particular pasta was a relatively new invention, as it were. It's still pasta at the end of the day. It's using semolina flour, which, depending on which part of Italy you're from, is not unusual. Some parts use, you know, the old Durham wheat, or whatever, you know. This one uses a semolina, and like I say, it uses a slightly coarser grind semolina, so it's not that really fine one. And it was invented, supposedly, on the Amalfi coast. I haven't had that much to drink. This has the sauce is a white wine sauce, so I've just finished off with what's left of the sauce. Hence the reason there's a red bottle in behind it, because there ain't that much left. I think I'm going to do away with that for now. So this was invented by a chef on the Amalfi coast, Enrico Cosentino, and this was in the late 1960s, and he came up with this particular shaped pasta, even though technically speaking you might say it's not exactly shaped, because it's just sort of strips of pasta. But unlike other ones which you'd roll out in the roller and make nice and thin, and then you might slice into spaghetti or into sheets or whatever, and then possibly even shape them into things like ravioli. Tagliatelle. I was going to say gnocchi, but I don't know if I really could say it's gnocchi or not. But anyway, he came up with this, and we're going to roll it with a rolling pin. Okay, so it's actually slightly thicker than most pastas. It's also, not only is it slightly thicker, but we're going to cut it with a knife. OMG. We're going to cut it with a knife, and that tends to make it have a slightly sort of like irregular, slightly curvy shape. And so therefore there is some suggestion that the name Scialatelli is derived from a Neapolitan, can't say the bloody word now, Neapolitan slang word scialare, which means to have fun, and tiella, which means pan. And it's like having fun with the pan, which you might say, what's that got to do with the irregular shape? Because the other version is that it's from a different word that's similar sounding, that basically means ruffled. Because by the time you've sort of cut this up by hand, it's a bit irregular. It looks a little bit like ruffled strips, apparently. Anyway, I'm just going to knead this for a little bit more, and then we wrap it up nice and securely in our plastic wrap, and I've got my wrap master there to do that. And then we're going to chill it for 30 minutes in the fridge. Now, because we're going to be using octopus, we can use that 30 minutes to cook our octopus. So for once, we won't say, I'm buggering off now for an hour, half hour or whatever, but you won't notice because I'm just going to come straight back on and film it. In this case, we're actually going to start preparing our sauce, preparing our octopus. We're not preparing them, we prepared it. We're going to start cooking it. Now, you're going to need a pan. I know you're going to cook your octopus in, but ultimately you can put some pasta in. We're going to cook the pasta partially separately, but then eventually we're going to chuck it in here. But before we do the cooking the pasta, because remember it's in the fridge chilling for half hour, we need to cook the octopus. Now, Her Holiness, the Pasta Queen, I'll put that in just to wind the wife up. Her Holiness. That gorgeous lady, put that in to wind the wife up. And I haven't had any comment yet. I know she's been in the bath as per usual. Not had a comment yet. So I'm guessing, as per usual, she's not really keeping up to date with my postings, but there you go, that's her business. Gorgeous. Wife's gorgeous as well, by the way. Anyway, I digress. And I've totally forgotten now where I started. Oh yes, the Pasta Queen, she makes it with clams. It's quite difficult getting all the clams where I am, particularly to get them fresh and actually better get them home in time before they're not fresh anymore. So I've altered it. So the spaghetti, the pasta bit is according to hers. The sauce that we're cooking the octopus in is hers. But we're not using clams, we're an octopus. And the octopus, I've already prepared. I've debeaked and debrained and eyed, if you like, as it were. I've done that before, so I thought I wouldn't bore you with that. So I've done that. And actually, I since have learnt from that last time that you actually do need to cook octopus for quite a bit of time. I'm used to cooking squid, where if you overcook it goes rubbery. And then I discovered that with octopus, it's the other way around. If you undercook it, it's rubbery, you've got to overcook it. Well, not overcook it, but you've got to cook it. So hence, we're going to start cooking it now. So, I've got a deepish dish pan, and you're going to need a lid. Right, you're going to need a lid for this. And the first thing we're going to do, now I've already prepared, so I've got a couple of cloves of garlic already, you know, mashed up as it were. I've got some more of that fresh parsley. I need some olive oil. I've got me octopus. I want about 240 to 250 mils of scialatelli, which is what I'm finishing off here, and it's a cheap one, it's not very nice. And then you're going to want juice of about half a lemon. So the first thing we want to do is get that on about a medium heat. And then we want to put 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4 into that. Okay, that's extra virgin, as that gorgeous pasta queen would say. Extra virgin. Sounds like a bit like she's a Nigella, she's not nothing like Nigella. Anyway, don't need that anymore. And then you're going to want to put into it your garlic, and you're going to want to put in about a tablespoon of parsley. There's still a little bit left because we use that as a little garnish. Okay, and we're just going to cook that until it starts to sizzle. And at which point you're going to want your octopi or your baby octopi. And remember, they're not really baby octopuses. We're not wiping out the octopus population. These are a species that are very tiny, although these are actually bigger than the ones I used last before. Get different grades of them. Excuse me, need one. There are species of octopus that look tiny, so people call them baby octopi. We're not wiping out the population of octopus by eating their babies. You're going up the line, and you're going to want your lemon juice. So, this is almost there. This is way. By the way, this is my pasta spoon that I bought, recommended by the pasta queen. Yes, boss. Pasta queen recommended this spoon. Well, she recommended you had a spoon to make sauces if you're doing it properly, Italian. She actually recommended that spoon. Can't afford the amount she spends on bloody gear. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to add about half that lemon, the juice, about half that lemon to the octopus. And I did that because I knew that's what would happen. Even though I couldn't see any in there, there was a pip in there. Gotcha, you little bugger. Where you gone? Can't be gone around the outside. Never mind, that'll do. Now, we're going to put that octopus, that polipetti, baby octopus, in there. And we're going to add that white wine. You might notice that level's gone up. I just couldn't drink any more of that white wine, so I just thought we might check in here. Yes, I know it's perhaps not very healthy. I chucked my remains of my glass in there. I'm the one bloody eating it and the wife. Now, it's rather swimming in there. Although these little fuckers aren't going to swim, they're fucking dead. But remember, we're going to be cooking the pasta in there. Or rather, we're going to finish off cooking the pasta in there. Okay, so I'm just going to let that come up to heat. I'm now on my jammy red roux. Oh, I've got to have something to take away. Taste that white wine. Oh, makes it taste funny, that. Actually, I don't know why I'm cleaning that down because I've got wrong my pasta yet. So, once this is up to temperature, I'm going to turn the, well, actually, I'm going to put it on the back burner. Actually, I don't need to put, well, whatever. I'm going to turn the temperature down, put the lid on it, and we're going to sit there and cook that for about half an hour. Now, towards the end of that time, we're going to roll out our pasta, cut it all up, boil it. So you're going to want some water on a rolling boil. Now, as that gorgeous person, Pasta Queen, says, although she calls us lot gorgeous, if you watch it. Don't think she ever calls herself gorgeous. She calls what some of she does gorgeous, you know, some of the food she does gorgeous. She talks about us as being gorgeous, but just to wind the wife up. That gorgeous Pasta Queen. She'll say, don't salt your water until it's boiling. Okay? So you'll need to get a pan of water up. I mean, you can prepare your pasta, you can get it all cut up, and you can just leave it to one side until you're ready. But we want to make it al dente. So we don't want it completely cooked to al dente stage because they're going to do that in there. Okay, so you want to get your pan up to a rolling boil, salt it, and then we'll be ready to chuck the pasta in it. Now, I don't think we're far off with this because the older octopi are starting to look, or polipetti, are starting to look a little bit like they're starting to cook. So at this stage, I'm just going to put that over there. turn that heat down. Actually, I'm going to put it on the back burner. Bugger it, let's go for the back burner. But I'll have to put that on really low. I'll transfer that over there. Turn that one off, and then you're going to see what I'm doing with the pasta in a bit. So just slightly out of shot there. There's the pan. I better turn that down a bit more because that seems to be bobbing away well. That's the octopus cookie. Okay, and what we're now going to do is we're going to start. Oi! Little shite. We're now just going to roll out. So you might need a lightly floured surface. I've got some more semolina flour. What we're going to do is we want to roll that out into like a rectangle. Now, if we were doing it on a pasta machine, we would be, of course, rolling it and then re-rolling it and then making the rollers a bit thinner and re-rolling it, and we will keep rolling it until it was a really nice thin sheet. With the scialatelli, because of the nature of this pasta, we're actually only going to roll it out to about, I'm getting rid of that, don't really need that. It's not a very wet one. I think I may use a slightly coarser semolina. I don't like semolina, and I've just watched a little bit where you told me you're using semolina, and I don't like semolina, I'm not eating it. So I've been to point out that some pasta is made with semolina, and I have used semolina before, admittedly not quite as coarse grind as this. But the idea is that it does give it a little bit more of a bite to it. But like I say, we roll it out to about 1/3 inch thick, and then just gonna trim it up, making a mess as you get, and we want to cut it into strips about 1/3 inch long. Okay, and it's slightly on the thick side. Did I say 1/3 inch thick? Well, yeah, that'd be right. And then we're just going to slice it up like that. Oops. Wait, don't you fold over, you little shit. I made that one a bit small. Now, you may want to give it a bit of a dusting in some flour so they don't stick together. But the idea is now we're just going to go through, and I should say, by the way, that this quantity of pasta is about 4 people. And I was going to make it smaller, but then I'd have to start buggering about with the egg size, and I couldn't be bothered. Now you could, of course, don't have to cook all this pasta. You can, of course, keep some, and you could sort of cook it another time. And remember, this pasta is lemony, earthy, and cheesy. So, don't know what it's like, never made it before, but I was just about to say you could try it with nothing else in with it. So, I'm just going to trim up. Recut some strips. And so I'm going to do that, and so I've cut up all that pasta. Oh, hang on. I'll work this. Oh, Johnny Red Roux. So much nicer than that other shite I was drinking. There's me. Well, they can't see it. I've moved that forward now because I've done everything over here. But there's my scialatelli. It's, you know, perhaps a little bit chunkier than gorgeous pasta queen. And I've been sort of tossing it in that semolina just so it don't stick together. So now I've got a pan. I'm just going to bring that up to the boil. So now I've zested that whole lemon into the pasta. as a little garnish, Her Holiness does use a little bit of lemon zest over the top of the finished article. I'm not gonna bother zesting another lemon for that, so you go without that. Might give it a little squeeze of lemon juice, and I've got that little bit of parsley left. There's a little bit of garnish. She also typically, like a lot of Italians, drizzles it with a little bit of olive oil. I'm not going to do that, too much oil. Okay, so that's been cooking now for about 20-25 minutes. Looking good. That I'm just going to bring up to the boil, put some salt in it, and then we'll cook our pasta. And like I say, we want to cook it al dente. We don't want to make it al dente, because then by the time we cook it in there, it won't be al dente anymore. It'll be gone too far. So we want it pre-al dente. But that's not quite boiling yet. Okay, so the water's boiling. I don't know if you quite say it's a rolling boil that she talks about. Just going to add some salt. A bit of semolina flour down there. And then we're going to toss in our pasta. I'm going to cook it all. But having tossed it in there, just going to give it a bit of a stir because we don't want it sticking together. Okay. So I've got that on a really low heat, the polipetti in the what wang sauce. Okay. So now we just want to let that come back up to the boil. Put that on there. Drink a swig of these. It's looking good. This is sort of like yellowy tinge to it. I don't know where that's come from. Trying to think what's going in there. Never mind. So, like I say, we're going to cook that till that's very slightly al dente. So, that I think is just about there. But by the way, you may have noticed there's 2 martini glasses in the background there. You may or may not notice, but they've been there. Because as per usual, being a Saturday evening, we had the usual little tipple of the Mason Distillery. Typical tea. And we haven't actually got any of their martini glasses, so we bought some. Anyway, there's a little bit. So let's just test it. Obviously, like I said, we don't want it overcooked at this stage because it's going in there in a minute. Right, that will do. Turn the heat off, get rid of that lid. So now, what we're going to do is transfer the pasta. You're going to drain it. So it's quite a chunky pasta, remember? Now, the old pasta queen will say, nectar of the gods. Just in case your liquid is reduced down too much. Wait, you little slipper, can you see where that wriggled out there? Just in case you're actually going to want some more liquid, rather than just put water in it, keep that down. I don't think we will do, looking at how much is in there. So now I'm just going to stir that in, and now we're going to continue to cook that. Look how pink they've gone. Why are they gone so pink? Can't think what's in there. And so all we're going to do is now we're just going to continue to cook that, so that pasta will absorb some of that remaining sauce. There's 2 bits stuck together there, you little git. There you go, not anymore. Reduce down a little bit, and then we'll be ready to serve. Can't understand why they've gone so pink. What's got in it? They're trying to match my shirt. My bargain £13 fat weight shirt. And you, little fella, you're going in the bin. No, you're not going in there. You don't deserve it. You wriggled out the pan. You're dying. Well, you can be alive if you like, but you're going to be in the bin. Still just cooking, but we need to make sure we don't need to season. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that sauce, okay? Taste the lemon in that. There's saltiness to it, don't need any more salt. Yes, I know, I've just put the spoon back in there, but I've told you before, I'm the one who's going to be eating it anyway. Obviously, if you were cooking for guests, you would use a separate spoon and you wouldn't put it back in there, would you? So, just going to cook this a little bit longer and then we'll dish it up and taste it. Plate it up, I'll put the parsley on top, have a little squeeze of the lemon juice, and that. Let's have a little taste. So, bit of the chunky pasta. Get in camera. You might argue you want to cook it a little bit longer. It's still quite al dente. Like I say, I've got a feeling, despite she said like do it about a quarter inch thick. I think hers was thinner than that. Even so, it's nice and tasty. Nice bite to it. You've got that lemon. You've got the wine. Let's try a bit of polipetti. Baby octopus. That's a bit al dente. Not actually as much as the pasta. It's not over chewy, over rubbery. Perfect. I'll swing away. Another bit of that. So a nice simple pasta. Actually, I just realised I can get the cheese. I was forgetting. I'm tasting the cheese in it, the Parmesan. I'm just so used to having Parmesan on the pasta, I just assumed it was there. So there you go, nice simple little pasta, easy to make if you haven't got a pasta machine. If you want to do it with clams like she did, exactly the same, except instead of the octopus, you put clams in it, but you just don't cook them so long. But then again, if you want to do that, buy her first book. It's in the recipe's actually in her first book. So if you check out her website, it's not in there. If you check out her YouTube channel, I don't think it's in there. Check out her Prime channel. It's in the last episode, episode 13 of the first series. But it's also in her book. So there you go. Scialatelli con polipetti. Scialatelli with baby octopus. Enjoy.